so I'm sitting here today with Cindy. We had the opportunity to help her and her father with a transition from his house in Prescott up here to the Bluffs, a senior living community here in Flagstaff, and we're going to talk to Cindy today a little bit about her experience working with us. So can you start by telling us a little bit about yourself, where you live, what you do?
I am a native Arizonan. I was born and raised in Prescott and moved up here to go to college and never left. So I've been in Flagstaff for a very long time. My dad has lived in Prescott most of his life, so we do a lot of visiting. He would come up, I'd go down. I am a pharmacy technician by trade. I worked retail, hospital, and I also have my own business doing graphic design. So, but I was able to go down and see him a lot, and we did a lot of visiting on the phone and whatever. So we were fairly close.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about your graphic design business when we had coffee that one morning.
Yes.
We may still decide to use you for some of the stuff that we do.
Hey, it's still rolling. I've
Yeah.
got kind of a spin-off business I'm doing with a friend of mine where we're doing ridiculously funny graphic tees.
Nice.
And so that's going to be fun when that gets off the ground. But
Good stuff. So how were you first introduced to our company, Mountain Shamrock Properties?
I was first introduced by one of the sales associates at the Bluffs. My father had a stroke mid-year last year, and we went from hospital to hospital, and it just became very clear that he was not going to be able to live on his own in his 2,000 square foot house by himself anymore. I found out that his neighbors were helping him a great deal, and he didn't want them to tell me. So don't tell Cindy because she'll put me in a hole. So, but then with all the hospital visits and everything, he finally said to me, he goes, "I think you're right, I need help, I can't do this by myself anymore." Which came as a rather huge shock to me, and I was not at all prepared.
Yeah.
So while we were in Phoenix, I was making phone calls, frantic phone calls to try to get him set up here someplace because I wanted him closer to me.
Sure.
Even though it's not necessarily his comfort zone, I knew I would be able to do a better job of helping him out. And I finally hit on the Bluffs, and I was talking to the sales associate there about getting him an apartment, and I said, I just don't know how to do this. I don't know how to pay for this. I don't know even where to begin. I don't know the steps. I'd been made his POA quite some time ago, and you give it thought from time to time, and I kind of had, I guess, a plan if he actually passed, but I had not had a plan for this, which turned out to be completely different.
And few people do have a plan for that.
Kettle of
It's
fish.
not unusual.
Yeah. So I was talking to them, and I was like, I don't know what to do. I mean, I know I need to pay for this, and I know I'm gonna have to sell the house to do that. What do I do? Do I like to stick a sign out with a phone number and, hey, somebody please buy this house? And she was like, no, this is the person you need to call. And she gave me your name, Mountain Shamrock Properties, and I was like, okay, whatever, it's a name, it's a place to start, I'll take it, I don't even know.
Right.
And then I got a hold of you, and we met that day, and I was like, oh my God, you threw me a lifeline. And I didn't, I'm gonna cry, so we're gonna love that
That's
part.
okay.
But I didn't know how badly I needed it.
Yeah.
And I was totally out of my depth.
Yeah, and you obviously have a very long to-do list when you're trying to figure all that stuff out, right?
Oh,
It's
for
very
sure.
overwhelming. And I always use the analogy, you're sitting at the bottom of a big mountain and you're nowhere near the top. And we understand that. Most of our clients are in the same position that you are. And we can't help you with everything, but we like to come in and help you with two big items on your list to relieve some of that stress.
Well, and it wasn't just that, it was the, yes, we can help you with the house. I'm like, oh my God, great, somebody will help me with the house. And it was, okay, I know things need to be done with the house before I can sell it, because, you know, I know at least that much. And you're like, yeah, these things need to be done. And I'm like, okay, what do we do? And you're like, no, we got this. I've got a person, and we've got a person, and we can do this. And I'm like, you can do this? And you're like, yeah, we can totally do this. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, I gotta get all his stuff up here somehow. I'm like, we can do this, we got this. And I'm like, oh my God. So, I mean, it wasn't just two things, and
Yeah.
there was the whole line of things, and the sympathy and the empathy and the emotional support and you're real. You're not like, I was waiting for the hook.
Mm-hmm.
And that's maybe just my personality, but I was waiting for the hook, and there isn't one.
It's funny that you say that, because I remember the day that we met. You know what's coming, right?
Yes, I didn't know if you wanted to go there or
no,
not.
I'm going there for sure. But we're sitting there at the table with you and your mom, and I'm telling you about all the stuff that we do and how we do it, and you know, you were asking me some questions, and you had looked into us a little bit, and you're like, I remember your exact words. You're like, if you screw me over, I'm gonna put a hex on you.
Yes.
And I started laughing. And then I looked up, and you were stone-faced serious. And then I'm like, oh, she's serious.
Yes.
Did you have to put that hex on us?
I did not.
All right, that's okay.
No.
Good.
No, there was
Good.
there was no hexing.
Good.
So it was.
Yeah.
My mom was, I don't know if you looked at her, but she was stone-faced serious too.
Yeah.
That runs in the maternal line. I'll just have you know. But
Well, I'm glad I didn't have to
you didn't. No, we didn't have to go
get
there.
the end of that stick.
Yeah, no, that would have been ugly. But
Yeah.
I was terrified.
Yeah,
I
it's a scary
was
situation.
terrified
Yeah.
that I didn't know what else to do.
Yeah.
But you know.
Yeah. So one of our main goals as senior transition specialists is to come in and make the sale of the house and dealing with all that stuff in the house as efficient and easy as possible on you.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about how we did there for you?
Sure, yeah. The sale of the house, well, let me go back a little bit. There were some things that needed to be done.
Yeah.
And I had no idea how to even take care of that. And I know I'm skipping ahead in
No,
the
that's okay,
questions
yeah.
a little bit, but the line of credit that you offered,
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
that it enabled me to allow you to hire out some people to help with the landscaping and to do some of the minor repairs in the house and you know, some of the other things that needed to be done that I had no idea needed to be done.
Yeah.
So that was huge because you can't sell the house without that stuff. And I've clearly never sold a house before. I have no idea how that process works.
Mm-hmm.
But you guys were so calm and like just efficient, and there was no drama. It was just, this is what we do. It'll be fine, don't worry. And I'm like, well, and you're like, no, it'll be fine. And it was like 3 days. 3 days later, we had an offer on the house.
Yeah, it was pretty quick.
And I know some of my friends and whatever were like, you should have held out for more. And you know what? I just wanted out from underneath this damn thing. So I'm not in it for the money. I mean, other than what is going to support him through comfortably to the end of his life.
Right.
But
Yeah, and to take a step back from that, I mean, we do offer a lot of different ways to help with the house, and typically we come in as is home buyers.
mm-hmm.
But as we started looking into your dad's house and the comps in the area and the state of the house, we decided it was probably better to list it. Right? We do have a realtor on staff, we can do that as well. That's maybe 10% of the time we do that.
Right.
But we're always about what's best for you, what's best for your dad,
Mm-hmm.
and in that case, the listing was.
Right.
And we did have to do some stuff to get it ready, whereas if we buy it as is, you wouldn't have had to deal with any of that, but.
Right, but I really didn't have to anyway.
Yeah.
So
Kinda
that,
stepped in.
you know, that you guys absolutely stepped in, there was no kind of about it, and I think we decided that listing, we would end up getting a little bit more out of it,
Yeah.
regardless of what we had to put in to get it fixed up,
Exactly.
which was great. One thing that I really appreciated was you gave me the options, you laid the cards out, so to speak, and you said, we can do this and this is what will happen. We could do this and this is what will happen. Or we could do this and this is what will happen. And I asked for your opinion and you gave me your opinion, but you never tried to pressure me in any direction.
Yep.
You left, although I was desperate for somebody to tell me what to do, I mean, at the time, now I appreciate it more. You allowed me to make those choices. So.
I'm glad you said that, because that's something we lead with in our business, is we never want to feel like we're pressuring somebody to pick one option over the other.
I never felt that.
Our job is to educate you, just like you said. If you go this route, this is what will happen. If you go this route, that'll happen, and let you make the best decision for yourself at that point. So.
Right, because depending on the situation, it might have been better to sell or wholesale or whatever, but I think it worked out well the way it did.
Right. So can you talk about some times, I know you've kind of touched on these, but some times that we've gone above and beyond for you during the process?
Every time.
Yeah.
Every single interaction was above and beyond for me. You hired movers to come and get his stuff. I didn't even have to pack it. They came in and they packed, and I'm still unpacking stuff. It's still,
you got a lot of stuff. Yeah.
There's so much stuff. They did a fantastic job packing, moving, bringing it back up here, unloading it into this tiny space that I gave them. They got it in there, and nothing was broken. Everything
That's good.
Everything was in perfect condition, and they were totally efficient, and I didn't have to do any of it. I didn't have to do a dang thing, except say, please pay them.
Right.
And I was not expecting your group to be able to do that. And you offered it. I didn't ask you, do you know any movers? You were like, you know, what we could do is, and I was like, really, you could do that? I think I said that like 1,000,000 times. Really, you guys could do that? And you were like, yeah, we totally do that. So he would probably still be at some crazy, scary hospital in Prescott Valley or something, and all of this stuff is still in the house. So it's, I could not have done it without you guys.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, you've got your own life, obviously, you're working, you got stuff to take care of up here, to have to deal with someone else's entire house and belongings. I mean, it's ridiculously overwhelming. So we know that. We work with people just like you all the time. So that's why we kind of got the recipe and the people lined up to just bang it out.
Totally. And I was able to focus on the things that he needed, like getting his medication organized.
The important
and
stuff.
The doctors lined up, and the important stuff, and getting them settled in at the Bluffs. And if I'd had to be in Prescott doing this and that and the other, it would have been, that first couple of months was so important that I be there with him like every day.
Yeah, for sure.
And so that it was great that I didn't have to worry. I mean, of course I worry because I worry about everything, but that I didn't have to be so hands-on in that part of it.
Yeah. So you alluded to this earlier. You elected to take advantage of our immediate care financing program. I'm going to ask a question about that, but first, to the viewers out there, we offer financing to our clients, and typically that's used for somebody like Cindy to get her dad into the community. So there's always a deposit, and then we usually give them enough, 2 or 3 months rent, so that way, as we're dealing with stuff with the house, however long that takes, they're covered financially. You got a special deal with the Bluffs, as I recall, right? Like,
I did, because they had some sort of anniversary
Yeah.
thing that I had 2 months free rent, which.
so you didn't need our.
He wasn't even there for those 2 months.
Yeah, it turned out that way. Like, you didn't necessarily need our money for that,
Right,
but you did use that money, and you've kind of talked about it, to pay for the moving, to pay for some of the yard work that had to be done.
yeah, and the repairs to the
And
house.
some of the repairs to the house, yeah, so that
Just
money's.
the incidentals
Right.
that I could have paid for, but then it would be me writing a check to
Yeah.
whatever, but then you were gonna set it up anyway, so it was like, please just handle it, and you
Exactly.
just handled it.
So we paid for everything for you out of that money, and then what was left, when we listed it, we just cut
Yeah,
you
I
a
got
check
a
for the
check.
remainder, right? So
Yeah.
that's important to us, cause a lot of the impetus of this is financial, right? Obviously, you've got your own bills, your own mortgage,
Mhm.
and to take on the rest for another house, sometimes it's just not possible,
Yes.
right? So
Mhm.
that's why we created that program.
I wanna
So-
mention, in addition to that, was that you offered enough for a deposit and a couple of months' rent, but there was also the opportunity to extend that
Yeah,
and to add on to it if it was needed.
yeah, if it was needed.
So that safety net there was very important for me mentally to
Mentally,
know,
yeah.
so.
That's kind of the question, like, you took advantage of our program.
Mhm.
What kind of difference did that make for you and your dad going into this whole ordeal?
It was more things I didn't have to worry about. It was if the house doesn't sell right away, he doesn't have to move in with me for 2 months until
Right.
the house sells. I just knew it was gonna be taken care of. Everything was covered one way or the other, even if we had to extend that loan and get more money or whatever we had to do, I knew it was available.
Right.
It was so, there was so much relief in knowing that I wasn't gonna have to worry about it later. It wasn't one of those things where I'm be like, okay, I'm gonna have to come up with the money for this, but I can't think about this right now, I'll think about it later.
Right.
That wasn't there, because it was there, the money was there, the services were there, the skill was there, the care was there. You guys were there in a way I have never seen in another service industry group ever.
Wow.
And I have worked with a lot, worked at the hospital and worked in pharmacy for a long time.
Yeah.
And it was just astounding to me how much of a help. And I know I've said it and I'll say it again, I could not have done it without your guys' assistance.
Thank you. So we brought you a lot of peace of mind, it sounds like.
100%.
Yeah. Okay. What do you think you like the best about working with us?
Well, clearly you have a sense of humor, so that's nice.
That helps, yeah.
I like your responsiveness. If I needed to get a hold of you, I got a hold of you. If I had to text or leave a message, I heard back right away. It was never more than an hour, I think, ever, that I didn't get a response from you. And even when it was like ridiculous, panicky, anxiety stuff, like, oh no, you're like, it's okay. you text it right back, it's okay. So that connection was awesome. That was awesome. I didn't have to hunt you down to get an answer to anything. Your calmness, I'm sure there's a better word for that, but everything was just, it's okay, we got this. It's okay, we have an answer for that. Don't worry, we have an answer for this. I don't know the answer to that, but I will find it and I will get it back to you within an hour. And that helped keep me calm.
Right.
because you weren't like, wow. We were like, you weren't crazy about stuff, which would amp me up. We don't need that, because, hexes start flying at that point. We just can't have that.
No, we
So,
didn't.
but it was an absolute joy and a privilege.
Thank you. So what would you say to somebody who is sitting on the fence and trying to figure out whether or not they should work with us?
Don't hesitate. Do not hesitate. You're wasting your time if you hesitate. Call these people right now.
Okay. And would you feel comfortable recommending us to your friends and family?
100%.
I agree.
100%.
Is there anything else you'd like to add before we go have some delicious lunch?
Anything else to add? I think everyone in a situation similar to mine needs to know about your group. And I don't know if they have that opportunity to know about them, or if you guys are expanding, or if you have plans to expand. But I think what you do is so vital that it should be available to anyone that's in this position.
Thank you. Well, I'll tell you, it's been an absolute pleasure working with you and getting to know you, Cindy. Honestly, I always say this: by the time we're done going through something like this with somebody, we become friends with our clients, because it's such a challenging, heart-wrenching, challenging thing for you to go through, right? So for us to be able to help even a little bit to get your dad into a safe place and get you where you need to be, it's an honor for us to do that for people. So thank you for all the kind things you said. Thank you for doing the testimonial for us, and
You're
much
very welcome.
appreciated. And I'm glad your dad's safe and sound and raising hell over at the Bluffs now.
Oh boy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We were born before